Amen. So hopefully we've come to the end of this discussion about progression typology and fractals. And we've got some kind of working understanding of what it actually means. I want to just open another conversation. We're all familiar with, that we've studied, 2 chapters so far from early writings. The first one was the Advent Movement Illustrated. Doesn't have a chapter number. And the other one is The Loud Cry. This is 277. Do you remember what page this is? Is it 240? I can't remember. It is? Yeah? So it's 240. When we looked at both of those chapters, the subject of the first angel is not in the Loud Cry chapter. You can't see it there. But we've made the assertion that the first angel's message comes, it stays here, and here you have the addition of human voices. Do you remember that? Is that an accurate representation of what we read? First angel, then the people's voices are added to it. Then we have the second angel, and then we have the second angel plus, I'm going to take the word many out and just say angels. Plus human voices. So let's just read that. We'll go to 277 first. So I'm reading paragraphs 1 and 2. We've read this so many times, I'm just going to take some selected portions from it. Hopefully you can keep track of where I am. Second sentence. I saw another mighty angel commissioned to descend to the earth and unite his voice with the third angel, give power and force to his message. The light which attended this angel penetrated everywhere, and he cried, Babylon is fallen, is fallen. The message of the fall of Babylon as given by the second angel is repeated with the additional mention of the corruptions which have entered the churches since 44. The work of this angel comes in at the right time to join in the last great work of the third angel as it swells to a loud cry. Second paragraph. Angels were sent to aid the mighty angel from heaven, and I heard voices which seemed to sound everywhere. So she mentioned these voices everywhere, and the voices that come, that are spoken, is Revelation 18 verses 4 and 5. This message seemed to be in addition to the third message, joining it, the third message, as the midnight cry joined the second angel's message in 44. The glory of God rested upon the patient waiting saints, And they fearlessly gave the last solemn warning, proclaiming the fall of Babylon and calling upon God's people to come out of her that they might escape her fearful doom. So the last sentence, I want us just to break down. We haven't spoken about that, so have a think about that. So what we've read is that the third angel's message is here. The second comes down, and then angels join. So it says, this message, this one here, was in addition to the third message. Joining the third message is the midnight cry, joined the second angel's message in 44. So this is 18. Two to 3, and this is 18, 4 to 5. And it says this pattern is exactly the same pattern as the second angel was also joined by the midnight cry. That's all it says in this passage. It doesn't tell us that there's multiple angels here. We're going to see that in the other passage. While we're here, the sentence says, the glory of God rested upon the patient waiting saints, and they fearlessly gave the last solemn warning, proclaiming the fall of Babylon and calling upon God's people to come out of her that they might escape her fearful doom. How many groups of people are there in this sentence? How many groups of people can we see? Who said? 3 groups of people. Everybody agreed there's 3 groups of people? Does everybody agree? Yeah? 3 groups? Sister Joy, 3 groups? No? How many?
I need to look at it.
Oh, so you haven't looked at it? 3 groups? So we all agree with 3 groups. Just tell me the number.
I'm seeing.
Just tell me the number.
Sorry?
How many groups? Just give me the number.
3, but
3.
yeah, but I was making.
Tell me the but in a minute. Just want to get the number. 3.
So
Just tell me the number.
2.
2. Sister Ruth? 2. So okay, so we've got 3 and 2. So, first one.
The patient waiting saints.
So the saints.
God's people in Babylon.
Does it say that?
God, calling upon God's people to come out of her. So there's God's people and her.
So God's people.
And her.
And your third one is?
Her, the woman.
The concept of Babel is called those proclaim and those who can the audience.
Sorry?
Audience and the saint.
So these 2?
Yeah.
So you don't want to include that?
Okay.
What's that?
Okay, let's give there 3.
Oh, you want to include that now? 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah? Sister Ruth? You want to include her in there? Sister Emma? Sorry? I didn't hear you. Yes. You agree with that? You wanted to comment? 3.
Yeah, I was saying that we can see 3, but it depends. Maybe someone is seeing 3 but different groups. There are those who can see 3 but they don't mean exactly what's in the board.
Explain.
Like I'm saying,
Tell us what you see, not what they see.
yeah, me, I'm seeing the three groups that are.
Are you seeing the three groups? Oh, you was explaining why people said two.
Yeah, I just wanted us to state them so that it can be clear as we have done now.
So it can be clear. Is that clear now?
Yeah, according to me.
Okay, I wanted to expound on how Brother Macha wanted to, how he understood it. And I'm in concurrence with this one. But I've heard him say there's between the saints and the audience. Now the audience will be the God's people and her, because the God's people are still in her. This is how I understood that to me. But okay, that one is okay.
It's okay? Okay? Everyone okay with that? Sorry? Who are the two?
The saints and God's people. Because
So these two?
yeah. Because the God's people are coming out of her. So they are part of her, but they are coming out of her. So me, I'm seeing two groups. The saints and God's people still part of her. Because the God's people are coming out of her. They're in that category of her, but now they're coming out of her. So me, I'm seeing two groups.
Okay, so if we had said, if Ellen White had written, sorry brother, if Ellen White had written this, the glory of God rested upon the patient waiting saints who were in the church, and they spoke to God's people who were in Babylon. How many groups would you have there?
Come again.
I can't do it again because it won't be exactly the same. This is when you paraphrase. You've got to listen now. The glory of God rested upon the patient waiting saints who were in the church, and they fearlessly gave the last solemn warning, proclaiming the fall of Babylon, calling upon God's people to come out of Babylon. How many groups have you got now?
The patient waiting saints who are in the church. And yeah.
Just tell me the number. 3. List out the 3. First one is saints.
Yeah.
Second one is?
Oh, they are those who are in Babylon now.
Okay, because I changed the pronoun her into the noun Babylon, it suddenly becomes 2 people. I'm just asking.
But according to my understanding, who is her? It is Babylon. But how do we understand the word Babylon? Is Babylon a group of people or a place?
How do you understand church? A group of people, a place?
A group of people.
So if I said the waiting saints in the church call God's people in Babylon, then you'd have to have 4 groups using your logic. I'm just using your logic, not my logic. Let me ask it a different way. The saints in Him, God's people in her. How many groups have you got? 4? So if I just use church in Babylon, you still have 4.
Because I understand the saints in Him, they are not part of Him. That's why they are being called. So when they come out of
No, they are part of Him. They're in Him.
they are in Him, but now
And they're in Him.
I understand, but now when they come out, they will not come all of them. They will come and leave some there.
That's fine. But in Him, there's some saints who are patient, and there are impatient saints. So the patient ones are going to be doing the work. So you've got 4? 1, 2, 3, 4?
After they go, now the distinction will come to 4 groups.
Sorry?
After they call now that they are coming out of her, so there are those who are going to come out. Are they going to come all of them and
Babylon will be blotted out, or there some are going to remain.
Is everyone going to call?
Not everyone.
So you've got two groups there,
Yeah.
and you've got two groups there, so you've got 4.
Yeah.
So I'm going to change the word him to a noun, church, and I'm going to change her to a noun, and Babylon. So how many groups have I got now?
Same thing.
4. So the fact that she doesn't name where these saints live means you don't have to include them in the numbering.
Don't get it.
The only reason you said 3 is because she lists 3. She lists 3 nouns. If she had listed 4 nouns, you would have said 4. But isn't it implied where those saints are? If I asked you where did the saints live, you're going to say in the church. And I'm going to say, what is a church? You're going to say a group of people. So you'd have 2 there, even though it didn't say it. Who's whispering? Sister Emma? Go on. What's that?
I'm saying, because it goes on to say what happens to the rest of Babylon, makes a distinction between the God's people and what happens to Babylon is going to get bit or to get judged upon. And it doesn't mention the saints in the church, it doesn't mention the church. It's telling you some information about 3 groups there, I'm saying. You could say it's 2, which is what you want to do, but it's because it's making extra information about the second one, about Babylon, and then you can legitimately say 3 groups.
I think if I reason in the structure of the 2300 days, we have 490 and 1810. During the 490 years, the gospel is going to the church, and the 18 then the gospel is going to the world. But when you come to the church, we have 2 classes of people in the church, 2 classes in the world. So if we want to make that distinction, that we can, wherever the seeds are coming from, we have another class. And then when you come, because basically when you look at God's people and Babylon, initially they were one entity, but now these people want to be called out of Babylon. So if that is the logic, then we can see 4. Because these 2 classes are the 2 classes of the world, and we know that we must have the same scenario in the church.
So the number is
4.
4. So I'm happy with 4, because if you're going to go for 4, then you'd go for 2, as opposed to 3.
I agree with the 4, but it's not brought out in that paragraph. And I think that is the problem where we did say. I think if you use logic, you can see 4. But from what like is stated in the paragraph, you cannot see 4. You see 3. But it's correct that if you reason out loud, we can become 4.
I'm not being funny, but the way I did 4 was putting the her with this one, not having it separate list. Sorry?
In the Saints, it just says the way
I understand that.
it's a first class, God's people, the second class, then they are in her, the third class. That is what we can get. Then if we employ reason now, we can say maybe the saints come from somewhere, from reason, but not directly from the quotation. Yeah?
I don't know how many people here have studied English properly, because I haven't. So I'm probably going to get caught that I'm being told I'm wrong. But I've got a feeling that this her is an adjective. It's not a noun in the way that people are using it here. It's an indication of where people live. Like a city. These people lived somewhere and they need to come out of that place because that city is about to be destroyed. It's not identifying a group of people.
So if you read that, it continues saying, proclaiming the fall of Babylon, calling God's people to come out of her, that they might escape of her fearful doom. So the her is a different class because it's going to get judgment. And I don't think when they are being called out of Babylon, everybody is going to come out. There are those who are going to remain so that they are going to be destroyed with Babylon.
I get that you're saying they are going to be destroyed,
Yeah.
but I think Babylon's going to be destroyed. And because the Bible uses Because the Bible uses the word her because it has this symbology about being a woman. Babylon is not a woman, it's a system. You could argue it'd be a place, a city or something, but it's not a her, it's a symbol of something. The people, God's people, is not a symbol. There's a mixture of symbology and literalism in that passage, I would think. It seems to me that this is the noun of the subject of the sentence, and this is the object upon which that noun is doing something to, and it's just describing some characteristics of these people, that they live in Babylon. I could be wrong. Unless someone's got any more thoughts. Yep.
Just wanted to bring an illustration of Noah, Abraham, and the people who were in Sodom. If you can rush to explain something, show something like maybe. If you see
No one can hear anything you're saying except me.
Lot is another.
So Lot is going to be taken out of Sodom before the destruction happens upon Sodom.
Yeah, but then you have Abraham outside Sodom, who is the saint of God.
No one, because Abraham didn't do anything. So angels that came and gave them the solemn warning. Abraham was comfortable back at his house. It's the angels that do that work.
I was taking Abraham to be like the waiting saints, and then.
But it says here the waiting saints fearlessly gave the last solemn warning. Abraham didn't. He stayed in his tent.
Angels did.
Sorry?
The angels did.
Yeah, the angels are doing the one. Not trying to say anything bad about Abraham. I thought you were going to make the point about Sodom. Isn't that what the discussion is? It's Sodom that's in discussion. What is Sodom? Is it a group of people or is it a city? Okay, so I wasn't actually worried too much about that. I wanted to see the two groups here. It says, the glory of God rested upon the patient waiting saints, and they fearlessly gave the last solemn warning, proclaiming the fall of Babylon and calling God's people to come out of her. So, this is the messenger, and this is the message. No, this is what? I put objects, I can spell that. So you've got the messenger and the recipients, or the target audience. And I would argue there's two groups that are being discussed here. It just says this group are speaking to this group and telling them what they should or shouldn't do. If we're okay with that. So the waiting saints, what are they saying? So they're saying the second angel's message, and they're saying they're saying what? Does it say where does it say the third angel? Remember, come out is not the third. This is 2 to 3 and 4 to 5. Are we okay with that? Yeah? They're not proclaiming the third angel's message. I want to make that point. So if you go back to the previous sentences, top of the paragraph, angels were sent to aid the mighty angel from heaven, and I heard voices which seemed to sound everywhere. Come out of her, my people. So it's here that the voices are sounded. So let's take, okay, I'll keep this for the moment just in case we need it. So here's the voices everywhere. We've got that. And what are the voices saying? Verses 4 and 5. Is that what they're saying? This message, the message of the voices, was in addition to the third message, and it joined it as the midnight cry joined the second angel. The glory of God rested upon the patient, waiting saints, and they fearlessly gave the last solemn warning. What is the last solemn warning? It's verses 2 and 3 and verses 4 and 5. And what are they waiting for? It says the waiting saints. What are they waiting for? Someone said something?
They are waiting for a signal. It's like they are waiting for a command to go and do the work.
Which work?
Go and proclaim the call of Babylon.
These verses.
Yeah.
2 to 5.
Yeah.
So they're waiting to begin to give that proclamation.
But I don't know if it can be logical to type it the waiting sense that we early writings 55.
Early writings 55. So he says, wait here.
Yeah.
And as they're waiting, what are they supposed to be doing? In that passage it says that, but what are they doing in real life while they're waiting? According to early, if you that's 1844. What are you supposed to be doing since 1844? Be silent, waiting for instruction to give a message.
They are waiting for there's a work they are doing.
What work are they doing? So they're giving all of these, I'll say these messages, they're giving some message, so the waiting is not waiting to give the message. The waiting must be something else. They're waiting for the glory of God to rest upon them. But the glory of God that's resting upon them is the message that they're going to be giving. So you're still back to the square one. So Brother Kefas is saying they're not waiting for the message, they're waiting for something else. While they're waiting, what are they doing? Giving. So the message is not the waiting, they must be waiting for something else. So in early writings 55, if we could use that, 55 they're waiting for the marriage to finish and for Christ to come back. Any other thoughts on what they're waiting for? Is this saying they're waiting here so that they can start give the messages? Is that what they're waiting for? Or is the waiting during this period? Brother Kefas is suggesting the waiting is during this period, so they're waiting for something else. If you're waiting, it hasn't arrived yet, so it must be something after this, which is I think what he's suggesting. Brother Rogers?
So I think when you read this sentence, the glory of God rested upon the patient waiting saints, and they fearlessly gave the last solemn warning. So even when they're giving this message, they're still waiting in patience.
How do you read that in that sentence? Because my brother's not reading it that way.
Saying the glory of God rested upon the patient waiting saints, and they fearlessly gave the solemn warning message proclaiming the fall of Babylon and calling God's people. So I'm saying that even when they're giving this message, they are still patient and waiting.
If I read it this way, the glory of God rested upon the patient, waiting saints, and then they fearlessly gave the last solemn warning, would that change? And then they fearlessly gave the last. Would that stop their waiting then? I'd put the then in it.
What are they waiting for?
It wouldn't change it even then.
It will depend on how you're using it.
Depending on how I use the word. If I used it sequentially, then it would.
Sequentially, like this.
And if it said then at that time, it would be the same. Okay, my brother? Let's go back to the previous paragraph. I'm going to go to the third sentence. It says the number 1844, end of the sentence. We're about 2/3 of the way down. Then it says the work of this angel. Are you there? Paragraph 1, 2/3 down, it says 1844. The next sentence says the work. Okay? So the work of this angel comes in at the right time to join in the last great work of the third angel as it swells to a loud cry. What waymark is that? Sunday law. So we're at Sunday law. Then it says, and the people of God are thus prepared to stand in the hour of temptation, which they are soon to meet. So if we go with that sentence, can I restructure the sentence? You tell me if this is accurate. And the people of God, I'll read it as it is, are thus prepared to stand in the hour of temptation which they are soon to meet. And the people of God are waiting during this time period for the hour of temptation to come. Okay with that?
They are prepared for his coming.
Because they're preparing or they're waiting for it to come. Now, they're not just waiting, idly doing nothing. They have to prepare for that event that's coming. So, during the period while they're waiting for it to come, they're getting ready for it to come. And how are they getting ready? Based upon the sentence before. What's making them get ready?
I think it's the angel that comes to join the work of the third angel.
So when the angel that comes down to join the third angel, when that angel comes down, it signifies a work of preparation. We might call it the latter rain, we might call it a growth from immaturity to maturity, but they're both waiting, because we're here and the hour of temptation is there, we're waiting for that to come, but it's not going to come to us, we have to go to it, so we have to walk to it, and for us to get from the beginning to the end, we need to be prepared to actually meet that time period. So we're not only waiting for it, we have to do something so that when it comes, we'll be ready for it. And the thing that we need to do, the preparation, is that angel that comes down. So I want to suggest that at this point they're waiting for the hour of temptation to come. It's not here yet. And in that waiting time period, that angel comes down and does what for them?
Cover them with glory.
Just using the word that it says, it does what for them? The people of God are thus prepared to stand. Sorry, I missed it here. Yeah, when it says prepared, what does it do for them? I'll answer my own question. I'm suggesting that angel is the mechanism by which they get prepared. It's the preparatory work that needs to be done so that they can reach the hour of temptation.
There is a work that he is doing to them because the work of peace building.
Yes.
There is a work that he does to prepare them.
My brother, what is the hour of temptation?
It is the time, it is what they are going to meet.
Okay, it's ahead of them. What is it? What do we understand it to be? You, we, us.
In a way, Martin. I can say it's Sunday.
You think it's Sunday law? So when this angel comes down here, we'll go with this one. When does that angel come down? What waymark is it when he comes down?
It's Sunday.
So it's here. When he comes down, now, not before, now they're prepared for the hour of temptation which is to come. So they're here, so it must mean to come, which means it's after Sunday law. So what is the hour of temptation? Does it say temptation? Yeah, the hour of temptation that they must meet. Can't be Sunday law.
I think it is now the COP, close of probation. That is what is ahead of the Sunday.
So this is the hour of temptation. Sister Ruth? Sorry? I know. I was just asking, what's the hour of temptation? Jacob's time of trouble. COP to Second Advent. We're saying this loosely. What do I mean by loosely? What do I mean by loosely?
The way we're saying it, that Jacob's time of trouble is not exactly as Daniel 12:1 when that one takes place, but it's later after.
When later?
When the day go.
Okay, so we've said Jacob's time of trouble in a general sense. Jacob's time of trouble does not begin at COP. It begins after that at the death decree. We're now at a place in our understanding that we're making a clear distinction between close of probation and the death decree. We now have identified it as a separate, distinct, unique waymark. Ellen White alludes to it, but she doesn't say it explicitly. We're now doing that, if we're okay with that. But we'll just use it in a generic term. The hour of temptation, Jacob's time of trouble, which we might call the binding off or the harvest, in the general sense, but it specifically be Jacob's time of trouble. So hopefully we're okay with that. So if we're saying that they're being prepared to stand in the hour of temptation which they're soon to meet, let's come back to our sentence. It says, the patient waiting saints. What are they waiting for? They're waiting for the hour of temptation. Because it says they fearlessly proclaim. They fearlessly give what message? The second angel's message and the come out of her my people message. And that second angel's message is which angel? Or the mighty angel. So when the mighty angel comes down and does this work, this is what prepares them. So what prepares you to get to Jacob's time of trouble or to the binding off? What do you have to do to prepare yourself to be there?
The light of this angel, mighty angel.
So you have to give two messages. Verse 2 and 3 and verse 4 or 5. If you give those two messages, you'll now be prepared to stand in this hour of temptation. Be okay with that? She, Ellen White, has not mentioned the third in that logic, but we have to add the third, don't we? So it's not just these two, it's also Revelation 14. I'm suggesting Revelation 14, 9, 11 is not found in Revelation 18. It's not there. It's not needed to be there because we need extra information on the second angel to be taken out of Revelation 18 and be put back into Revelation 14 because that's the one that's confusing. What information is not given in Revelation 14 that's in Revelation 18? Come out of my people. You can't see that anywhere. It doesn't mention it. This is why we need both chapters. So even though it says they fearlessly give this cry, these two messages, we can't forget that they're already giving the third. So it's 1, 2, 3 messages all together, even though she doesn't explicitly mention it. They haven't forgotten about the third angel. Who had their hand up?
So I was thinking, for me to be able to explain, you asked the question, when is the hour of temptation? And also, I want to explain. Okay, what are they waiting for? I'll also try to explain that. So if you look at this phrase, the hour of temptation is taken to the promise to the church of Philadelphia.
1 second. What verse is that, Brother Wilson? Don't look. Sorry?
Revelation 3:10.
Revelation 3:10. Carry on.
So when you look at Revelation 3:10, one thing we have is that, so here in this context you're reading, you have patient waiting saints, and you're asking what are they waiting for? And I think you have the same scenario when you look at this promise to the Church of Philadelphia. On April 19, what you have is a waiting time. So you have patient waiting saints, and they're being promised to be kept from the hour of temptation that is to try the whole world, which is October 22nd.
Just hold that thought. So we've got the patient waiting saints from April, the tarrying time, which is the same model that Brother Cephas mentioned earlier, but he took us to Acts of the Apostles, early writings 55, which is October 22nd, where they're patiently waiting. So carry on.
So if you look at that history, they are patiently waiting, and then therefore you need something that needs to prepare them to navigate through this time of temptation, which is October 22nd. And I'm seeing what the thing that is going to help them navigate through is July and August. So as they proclaim July and August, this prepares them to go through the hour of temptation, which is October 22nd. And from our studies, we have established that October 22nd is a close of probation.
So we've gone from April to October. April is the tarrying time. They're waiting for October. What comes in April? Second angel's message. They're going to begin to fearlessly proclaim the second angel's message. And on top of that, they're going to make a cry to come out of her, my people. And it's these two cries that help them to prepare for the hour of temptation that's about to come to them. We can clearly mark the hour of temptation as being October 22nd, 1844, from Revelation 3:10. So just want to add, if we were to do that, it would be COP. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be the death decree. So we understand is we've got some, depending on the point we're making, we've got some license, two-way marks to pick, either the death decree or close of probation. So if we were to go with the model that we've just been given, then it's the close of probation, October, and in that waiting time, you're required to give two messages, second angel, and then come out of her, my people. So you mentioned July and August. If August is come out of her, my people, where are you going to place the second angel? In July, or are you going to place in April? Okay, so then we've got April and August, which would be Sunday law and the loud cry. Then if that causes people problem, so that would be, because this is the Sunday law, this then would be April, and this then would be August. I'm not sure if what they're doing in July, if we could mark July, August as a singular event, midnight cry. The complexity that we have to deal with is, I want to make Sunday law July, and I want to make this August, July and August, and we see it back here, July, August, Sunday law, loud cry. But when you start introducing this model and you start making this April here, because that's the arrival of the second angel, that's when the angel comes down here like this. You kind of get driven to make that April, and then you have the angels join. I don't know when we're going to argue or make the assertion, when do these angels join the second angel? Do they join it in July or August? I guess it would depend who you ask. If you ask a Millerite, what would they say? They would say July. If you asked us, it would be August, depending on how you want to conceptualize that. So is everybody okay that you can make this July and April? Are you okay with that? Explain it to us then.
So we are placing July to be at Sunday law and August to be the loud class.
I didn't understand that. I don't think it's that straightforward. That's why I want a couple of people to explain how they would share this information, how they would express it, because it doesn't seem that easy to me. No? Your brother? Andrew?
I think the basic reason is the arrival of the second message at April, we are marking it Sunday law. And then we are putting August because of, as in you personally, I understood it because of the many voice. That's why we can make it like a lot.
I'm happy with this one. Explain this. Is it April or July?
Okay, I would explain it this way that, like you say okay, I would argue July because of the false alarm.
Because of the?
False alarm. And then they are waiting for the true.
July, how does July become the alarm?
I was thinking that it's not right here.
Okay, it's not easy, my brother.
I think I need to explain faster where we have. I can explain where we have April as the Sunday law.
Okay, explain us the April logic.
We know that the second angel arrived in April 19, 1544. So, parallel with that, we are history to see that the angel of Revelation 18 arrives at the Sunday law. So, we see the parallel between April 19 and the Sunday law. The one that I'm not firm about is the July one.
Okay, so if we do the April one, it arrives, and on April the 19th, they're all saying, the second angel has arrived, Babylon is here. They're not saying anything. They're waiting for July to happen. So there's some silence here in April. No one really fully understands what's going on. So that's April. So you're doing the April basically from the arrival of the messages. Okay? The July one.
Okay. I'll explain July in two ways. July and August. So when you look at what you have drawn here, 18:2-3, second angel, then 18:4 to 5. She said that this angel arrives at the same time to unite his voice in proclamation with the third angel as it begins to swell into a loud cry.
That's here.
Yeah. So it's beginning to swell. For me, it becomes the loud cry in 4 to 5. So that's the beginning of the swelling, then it becomes a loud cry in verses 4 to 5. So this is the relationship. The cry begins, but here it begins to swell, then becomes a loud cry later in verse 4 to 5. Then another strong one, at least for me.
How's that July?
Okay, sorry. So you have when it begins to swell into a loud cry. So then we go to Millerite history and look at the history of the second angel. So we realize that someone soon arrives in Boston and gives the second angel in July 21st, but not many people embrace it. But it's at that period where it begins to swell and it's accepted in August, and many begin to proclaim it. So I'm saying to begin to start from July to August.
So when you say he goes to Boston, what is he saying? Is he saying, by the way, do you know that the Protestant churches are now Babylon? Or is he saying, I know when the bridegroom's coming back?
He's saying, you know when the bridegroom's coming back.
So if we're going to use the Boston Exeter argument, we then are not using the message itself, but we're using the concept that it's first proclaimed here and then it swells. So we're not targeting the messages themselves. What we're looking at is this concept of swelling, how it begins to first be initiated into the movement and then it swells. So you have July and August. So when you use July and August, we're not using the wording of the messages themselves to do that.
Then my next point, why we go for July and August, is based on the three models that we've developed in the movement: agriculture, construction, and marriage. That we go for agriculture.
So we're going to defend July from an agricultural model.
So when I come down to, when Revelation 1 to 3 comes to join the blood angel of the Sunday law, there she said, according to what we are reading, that the glory of God has rested upon them and they prepared for the hour of temptation before them. But if you go to other passages, she says, the saints have received the latter rain, therefore they are prepared for the trying hour before them. So it is the latter rain that prepares them to go through the trying hour. So then you see that we have at the Sunday law the latter rain that prepares the saints to go through the trying hour. So then I will take this model and take it to Millerite history and see how do I line it up. And we mark the latter rain beginning in July and April. With the sowing for Marie.
So the first argument is we won't look at the message that Snow's giving, but we'll look at the structure. He first goes to Boston and then there's this swelling. Then the second argument is not so straightforward. It's not complicated, but you've got 4 dispensations: a ploughing, a former rain, a latter rain, and a harvest. And we know that this is Sunday law in the line that we have here at the end of the world. With its priests, Levites, Nephilim, it's always going to be the same. But this is the line of 144,000. When we go back into the Millerite history and we start trying to line these up, then what are we saying? We're saying that this is October and this is 1798. This is 9/11 and 1989. So the question is, what does 9/11 tie up with? What are we going to pick up to line it up with the Millerite history? Because we know Millerite history has 2 waymarks, 40 or August 11th and April the 19th. It's got both of those. So which one do we want to pick up? So when we go to this top line, or an agricultural model, we say that the former rain begins when the seed sowing happens, and we indicate that with the second angel. Why would we say it's the second angel that's connected to the seed sowing? Because what does second angel equal?
Righteousness.
This is righteousness. So then we go back to the Millerite history and say, when does the second angel come? And this would be in April. Hence would mark April as the beginning of the former rain. And as soon as you start doing that, we know that the latter rain is Sunday law. Then you go forward and say, well, which one do we want to go for? Would it be July or August? And hence would go, this was April, and this would then be July. And if you did that, what you then see is that August isn't really identified in this model. Which is the premier waymark, July or August? July. But in this movement, for a very long time now, we've promoted August to say August is the premier waymark, and July is sort of just some little incident that happened, but that's not correct. The Millerites correctly identified the premier waymark. They told us it was July, but we've turned it into August because we have our own little agenda to do, but we need to always be anchored back into these models. So what's the most important waymark? Sunday law or loud cry? It's a Sunday law, because without a Sunday law you don't even have a loud cry. Ellen White alludes to it. She says, at the right time this happened. She tells you it's time here. When these ones come, what does she say? When these ones, since they're just aided or they just joined, no indication of time or anything. So this is the premier one. So when we come to this model, we want to look for the primary waymarks, and the primary one would be July, because that's the Sunday law. It's midnight. It's not August. So we have two arguments. We have this swelling argument, very simple argument. The flaw in this argument, or the problem with it, is that in Boston, Snow is not saying Babylon is fallen. Then in August he says, okay, I'm going to change my tune now and the bridegroom's coming. Because in these ones it's neither of those. He says bridegroom, bridegroom, and in this model it's Babylon is fallen and come out of her my people. And I don't think there's any indication, if you go back and check his sermons from Exeter, he's saying come out of her my people or anything like that. It's all about the logic of behold the bridegroom cometh. But we're picking up the structure of the swelling. Then, if you go to the agricultural model, slightly more sophisticated way of doing it, when you do this, then it's the rains that really guide and direct. I'm going to say, I can't overemphasize this agricultural model, but neither do I want to promote it to the be-all and end-all of our message. It's not. It's only a tool that we use. But it's a very powerful tool because it's easy to deal with. And Ellen White speaks about it so much, so does the Bible. The latter rain, we're not guessing, we're not assuming. She tags that to the Sunday law. So therefore, in the agricultural model here, when we bring it to the Millerite history, we know that the latter rain is not going to be April, because we've already seen this is where God's people arise. The arising of God's people is the seed germinating and coming back into life. So we've got two models to show it's July, and I think the model for April is relatively straightforward because it's right here. The second angel, we've got it. The reason we have the second angel in this logic coming at 9/11, it lines up with the second angel coming here on April the 19th. And the second angel coming here, Millerite history, would line up here with the Sunday law. So we've got April and July. I think we have to be able to use both models and explain them. I don't think one's right and one's wrong. They're both teaching different truths. Is everybody okay with how we can do that? Because you need to know how you can defend it's July and how you can defend it's April. It will be both. Repeat the logic again. Sister Ruth, can you do the logic for April? Can you tell us the logic for making April the Sunday law? Sorry? On this board work, I've said April is the Sunday law. Can you explain and defend that? How we would argue that? If you take the chart booklets or the major chart that we have, the Millerite line, if you check that, it says April lines up with the Sunday law. I don't know if you're all familiar with that. It says that clearly on that chart. So I'm just saying, why? Why do we make it April? Okay, Sister Emma?
April in the history is when the second angel will lie and then required to show two messages at once, all of them and come out from the angels. So that's when you can mark that message arriving there.
So in the Millerite history, April the 19th, the second angel begins to do his work. And?
And there's a tarrying and they're waiting.
In our line?
Yeah, he describes the saints as waiting there. They're waiting for the hour of attention, whether we say that. And so you can line that waiting up when the angel arrives in April.
So, Sister Emma has added a secondary waymark, or logic, a tarrying time. But you still need to explain that one. Second angel begins to do his work in April. In our line, when does he begin to do his work?
Absolutely, that's what I'm going to tell people to come. But that one's fallen and it's come out.
I'm not worried about the coming out. I'm just worried about the second angel. Because we have two major books, her first book and her last book, Early Writings, Great Controversy. It's Spiritual Gifts, Volume 1, I think 1857-58. It's a very early book. You go all the way to 1911. Both chapters teach exactly the same thing. Chapter 38, Great Controversy, 603. Early Writings, 277. They both talk about this angel of Revelation 18 coming down at the right time, and that right time contextually is the Sunday law. So we've got the Sunday law, the second angel coming down, April the 19th, the second angel coming down. They both initiate or trigger either a waiting time or a tarrying time. That's how we make it April. How do we make it July, my brother?
So from what I've heard been saying, we mark the swelling to the loud cry. And we know that the swelling to the loud cry begins at the Sunday law, when the angel of the Trinity comes down. And as a result, we go to Millerite history, and we'll see that the swelling to what was their cry began in July 21st. So, based upon the swelling, we can see that July cannot be typified as Sunday.
So July is being marked by the concept of swelling, not by Snow's messages. If we use Snow's messages, we don't come to a proper answer. Snow doesn't say Babylon is fallen, and Snow doesn't tell people to come out of Babylon. His message all the way through this swelling is, behold, the bridegroom cometh. But we take the model of swelling with the two dates, July and August. Logic 1, second logic.
So for the second logic, we will mark the second angel arriving at April 19, 1854. But we know that there are, based upon the agricultural model, we have two pieces of the growth period, which we also mark for the sanctification of righteousness, which is the second angel. And as a result, we will see that the point where the latter rain begins will be at a certain distance from where the angel arrived. And therefore, the latter rain is marked at the Sunday law. And therefore, from April 19th, we have to go the next dreamer to see where the latter rain will begin. That will take us to July 24th.
Let me ask a question. What's the purpose of the former rain? Sorry? Think about this sentence. And the people of God are thus prepared to stand. What's the purpose of the former rain? Anyone? No? Sorry?
We say the purpose is to sprout the seed.
Okay, I don't want to use the agricultural model, but I gave you the clue about the sentence. What's the purpose of the former rain? Someone said? To prepare you for what? So the former rain is to prepare you for this latter rain. What's the purpose of the latter rain? To prepare you for the hour of temptation or the harvest. Sorry? And the ploughing prepares you for this dispensation, for the sowing and the growth. Sister Joy, explain this logic about how we get July. That one's okay. Explain this one for us. My brother did it, I'd like you to do it. You don't understand that logic? Okay, so who else is struggling with that logic? Because I want us to leave this class, at least, even if you can't replicate it, but at least you understood the steps, so that if you review your notes or the videos, that you'll remember what we did. So what we did was, we took an agricultural model. We began with the agricultural model. And when you do an agricultural model and you've studied Spirit of Prophecy, she'll teach you two things. That the former rain and the latter rain are two distinct experiences that we have. If we were to think about the disciples and their history, this would be Pentecost. And Pentecost is to prepare you to do public evangelism. And they were in the upper room for 10 days before to prepare for that event. And if you went back 50 days, the Holy Spirit's breathed upon them for what purpose? Why did God breathe the Holy Spirit upon them? To prepare them. And what is that? What form does that preparation take? What does it look like to prepare you to do public evangelism? An increase of knowledge on what? On prophecies. So this is prophecy and this is evangelism. Ellen White won't explain it that way. She'll explain it in a different way. She says the former rain is for you to develop a righteous character. And she won't explain it this way, but the Sunday law is to exhibit your righteous character. So I'll put this here as an ensign. So you develop righteousness and then you become an ensign. You understand prophecy and then you do public evangelism. So this is the time of getting ready and this is the time of doing the work that you need to do once you have been prepared. This prepares you for this work. So there's that relationship. So when we come back to this model, we know that this waymark here that distinguishes the two is the Sunday law. We know that really well. In the context of the line of the 144,000, we have these four waymarks: ploughing, former rain, latter rain, harvest. Harvest, we know, is COP to the second advent. With quite a lot of evidence for that. We know the latter rain, the former rain, we're going to pick up from 9/11, and the ploughing we're going to pick up from 1989. So why do we pick up 9/11 as the beginning of the former rain? We could do it a number of different ways, but I'm just going to call that baptism. We could use baptism, which is a sign of the covenant, which is an experience of death and resurrection, that we're born again here at 9/11. The germination of the seed, we begin to grow. So once we've done all of that, then we can see that what produces this experience of this former rain. What produces that? We've seen that it's righteousness. What angel is righteousness? It's the second angel. So we place the second angel coming down here, because this is the experience of the second, then the third. And because we're putting two here, second angel, if you go back to Millerite history, that same experience of 2 is also happening on April when the second angel's message arrives. So that's how we mark the April date here. So we've done that. And then once we've established this is April, then we just go forward and we see that the next major waymark is going to be July. Because July is going to mark where this message begins to swell, as we just showed here. So this has to be the former rain. It can't be the latter rain. Hence, the latter rain would begin in July, not in April. So that's the argument for making it July. All good?
Yes.
Let's go back to 240. We're not going to go back to 240. We're going to skip down through this fairly rapidly. The bottom of first paragraph, 240.1. An angel bade me look carefully, and I saw an angel watching over every one of those who had a ray of light, while evil angels surrounded those who were in darkness. I heard the voice of an angel cry, "Fear God, give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come." So there's an angel that comes here and it says, "Fear God, give glory, for the hour of his judgment has come." Next paragraph. Their faces beamed, I've cut through into the paragraph, their faces beamed with holy joy while their gaze was directed upward to Jesus with intense interest, and their voices were heard in harmony with the voice of the angel. Fear God, give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. As they raised this cry, this is the people, I saw those who were in darkness thrusting them with side and shoulder. So we've got the people, human voices, in harmony. We'll skip down further. 241.1. Those who cherished the light were looking upward with the ardent desire. They expected Jesus to come and take them. Then a cloud passed over them, and they became sorrowful. A discouragement settled upon the waiting ones, and the ministers and leading men rejoiced. Next paragraph. Then I heard the voice of another angel say, "Babylon is fallen, is fallen. A light shone upon those desponding ones, and with ardent desires for his appearing, they again fixed their eyes upon Jesus. So a number of angels conversing with the one who had cried, 'Babylon is fallen,' and these united with him in the cry, 'Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him.'" So we've got the second angel, and then we've got these other angels join them in the plural. The musical voices of these angels seemed to reach everywhere. Exceeding bright and glorious light shone around them, around those who had cherished the light which had been imparted to them. Their faces shone with exceeding glory, and they united with the angels in the cry, "Behold, the bridegroom cometh." As they harmoniously raised the cry among the different companies, those who rejected the light pushed them with angry looks. So we've got all of that structure. We read those two passages. I want to go back one chapter. We haven't read this one together in class. This is the second angel's message, begins 237 paragraph 1. 237 paragraph 1. As the churches refused to receive the first angel's message, they rejected the light from heaven. What is that light from heaven that they've rejected? First angel's light. And fell from favor of God. They trusted to their own strength, and by opposing the first message, placed themselves where they could not see the light of the second angel's message. But the beloved of God, who were oppressed, accepted the message, "Babylon is fallen," and left the churches. Near the close of the second angel's message, I saw a great light from heaven shining upon the people of God. The rays of this light seemed bright as the sun, and I heard the voices of angels cry, "Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him." Mentions angels in the plural. This was the midnight cry, which was to give power to the second angel's message. Angels were sent from heaven to arouse the discouraged saints and prepare them for the great work before them. The most talented men were not the first to receive this message. Angels were sent to the humble devoted ones and constrained them, which means you're constrained. Sorry? Someone said? Forced. It means to force. They were forced to raise the cry, "Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him." Those entrusted with the cry made haste, and the power of the Holy Spirit sounded the message and aroused their discouraged brethren. The reason why I wanted to read all of that is because now I want to ask a question. We've made the assertion thus far. What's going on in 1850? The chart making business. And the chart making business is connected to what event? In that history? 1848. 1850 is not connected to the loud cry. It is the loud cry. We paralleled that, but it's connected to 1848. What waymark is 1848? What waymark is 1848?
2016.
Sorry? 2016 and April the 19th and the death decree and this unknown waymark here. Are we all okay with that? 1848 equals or is, type whatever we want to say, the death decree. Let's list them out again. I'll go with 2016. We'll do them in order, backwards. So we got the death decree, the question mark, 2016, and April the 19th. This one is Millerite history, and this is the history of the 144,000.
I think 1848 it just ended at 2016.
Say that again?
I'm saying 1848 can typify. It typifies the date between the question mark and 2016.
Oh, not April 19th.
Because April 19th, there is another logic we used to the day of 2016. Because if we say 1848 and April 19, both are going at then. Both 1848 and April 19 will be 2016.
So that's why I've put it a star here, because it's Millerite history, and in one line you're going to have problems. 1848 and April the 19th, you can't do typology in one line. That's why I've starred it. But when we just ran them down this way, it worked that way. You will have noticed that we've got 1, 2, 3 waymarks here, and this is our line. I'm not going to call it the 144,000. I'm going to call it our line. How many are missing? We've got 3. How many are missing? Answer carefully. Sister Emma, do you even understand the question? Well, we've got 3 so far. How many are missing? Just give me the number, not where they're missing from. I just want to see if people are not just understanding my question, but what this board work is showing. So I ask a vague question, and if someone gives the right answer, I know that at least someone is on the right page of our thinking, then everyone can catch up if we're not there.
Sorry, what's your question? Is the question mark?
The question mark is this one. I'm asking, because unless you know what that event is, we don't even know what to call it. We know what characteristics is it. This we have a year. This we have a Spirit Prophecy quote. This one we have nothing. It's blank. We have April the 19th, but 1848. In this one, how many are missing now? In our line, how many are missing? Right, Sister Ruth, just give me the number. Give me the number. 4 are missing. I'm asking how many are missing. So you're saying we've got 7. How many are missing? If you had 4, I assume you mean 1 is missing. Something else? Okay, Sister Emma, how many are missing? 1. Sister Emma says 1 missing. Brother William?
It's 1 or 2, depending on how you look at it.
Okay, you tell me how you look at it, and then I'll tell you how I look at it in a minute.
Yeah, it is 1.
1.
Yeah, because...
Don't tell me why. Just 1. 1. 2.
I said 1 or 2.
Oh, look how he comes back now. Depending on who your friend is. 1. Okay, so we've got quite a few 1s. So now I don't want you to tell me where it is or whatever, but you tell me who they are. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, because we had 3 here, the 1 missing, so we've got 4. What's this one? Who is it? Can we go the other way? We'll go the other way. Priest. Sister Emma, is that what you did? Yeah? Okay, so you got 4. Is that what you did, my brother? Okay, so you got 4. You agree with 4 dispensations like that? 4 groups. So he agrees with 4 groups, but 2 of my brothers want to make it 5. So why are they making it 5? Not going to ask them yet. Why are they making it 5 if you've only got 4 groups? No, and I asked in our line, specifically our line. Sorry? It's only 4 for you. Okay, it's only 4 for you.
I would think because we have midnight to the midnight cry.
Let's not use midnight to midnight cry, because I don't know what midnight is. Okay, so let's use one that are distinct. I do know midnight. I get told off when I say I don't know. So they say, why are you even teaching if you don't know anything? I think actually they're probably right. So I've drawn a line, tell me what to do. I'm not sure what you want me to do.
So for the priests, we have 2016. So if, for example, we have Raffia.
I don't want to go to 2016, because 2016 is not going to be Raffia.
So if we are working with close observation, which I would say we have the Waymark 2016. Before that.
This is Raffia.
So the Waymark that you're looking at.
Tell me what you're trying to get me to construct.
I want to construct the Waymarks that you're working with, the death decree, the question.
Okay, so I've got Raffia. You want me to just put 2016 here?
Yeah. And then for 44,000 after the close of probation. We have the death decree. We also have a way back from the Sunday Law to the close of probation.
Okay, can we redo this? It's basically correct what you're doing, but I want to start with a proper framework, and I don't want to do it for you. Because you said a minute ago, you said Sunday law to close the probation. So that's the answer to what I want to be put on the board.
So if you're working with the close of probation to the Sunday law.
No, Sunday law. Okay, so I'm going to do this, Sunday law to close the probation. Then what do I want to do?
Close of probation to the second argument.
Okay, so this is, okay, now I'm seeing that.
Midnight cry to the Sunday law.
Okay.
Or Biant to the Sunday law. Raffia to Biant. So, from that detail one, you know that.
You haven't finished. You said you're going to show us why there's 5.
Yeah.
And you've only given me 4.
Yeah, 5. 2014.
Okay. That's why I wasn't happy with the 2016. Now go.
So in between 2014 and Raffia and now 2016, Raffia and Biant will have a question.
I'll put a question mark.
Biant to the Sunday law. Sunday law to the close of probation is also addition. And then close of probation to the second argument, death decree.
Okay, so we've got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got the death decree and we've got 2016. So that's all correct. So we've got 3 question marks and we've got 5. So we'll fill in some gaps. Some of these gaps are not good fill-ins because we don't actually fully understand what they mean. So this one here, I'm going to put the Panion one and I'm going to call that Midnight Cry. Because in Acts 27, at midnight, there was a cry made. And this is 273. The symbol of 273, calling it Levites. Then what? What's 2016? Symbology. You're going to tag it from Millerite history. It's already on the board.
2016 depends on how you apply it, but 2016, when you use the line we did recently, February 19, when you use the other line, it's Concord.
Okay, so we'll use that one. Concord. We're looking for this one. How do you know it's 2020? Sorry?
She created that line between Panion and Raffia, and she identified 2020, which representing Concord.
So we'll just blame Sister Tess. 2020. And 2020, what's the logic?
Of it.
What other information do you know about?
I think when she identified Raffia and Panion, she's using a Millerite history to give us that one. And Raffia being identified the 21st of July and then the 15th of August being Panion. So between these two women we have Concord. And she identified between 2019 and 2021, you have a waymark in the middle here, and that waymark, she's saying that it's 2020.
My brother?
I don't know.
Do you understand what we're doing?
Not fully.
Where are you lost?
273.
This one here?
Yeah.
So, She's done a study on Acts 27, and in the story of Acts 27, they sight land, they see an island, and it says at midnight, something, and then it says, and then they made a cry that they'd see land. So she's argued that there's a cry made after midnight, and she's placed it here between the midnight cry and the Sunday law. So that's the basic logic for that. Then she goes to Numbers chapter 3, and you see that there's 273 Levites. So she's going to use Numbers chapter 3 and Acts 27 to place it in this history, not here, in this one, because the 273 is going to be tagged to Levites. We know this is the binding off of the Levites, and it's connected to the midnight cry. When they hit land, then they begin to do public evangelism. So that's where that 273 has come in, from that point.
And eating the land is not at Sunday law.
Yes, because when they hit the land, then they begin public evangelism. Let's quickly do this one here. This way mark here, 2020, this the extra bit of information.
What I'm thinking about 273 of diplomatic relationships between Rome and Egypt.
So that's here.
Yeah, if I use that logic and come down to 2020.
273 BC, it's Rome and Egypt begin to join together.
When you come to Daniel 11 that gave us Raphael Premium, you have Raphael, I think, is it 11 and 12?
Yeah.
Then 15 and 14, then the verses in between, you see Rome having an interaction with some power. Verse 14, you see Rome having an interaction with some power, which will be located
here?
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
So this is 11, 14. Any other logic? So I recall her taking a history.
This is select logic. I'm not sure again if it will work. If you go to that history of Revelation 9 and you take 1449 to Piratia and 1453 to Pania, then we have 1451. What you see?
I think the logic that she used was...
I'm not saying
okay.
that's what she used.
Okay.
Giving it as a light reference.
1451.
Yeah.
So she used the logic that there's a battle in the Civil War, because she's going to use the American Civil War and dovetail that into this story at Lexington, Concord. It's not the American Civil War, it's a war of independence between the Americans and the British. So she's marked Concord and Concord. And what do we know about this Lexington Concord battle?
73 British soldiers.
So 273 British soldiers are killed. So we've got the number 273 here as well. So we've got 2016, we've got Lexington Concord battle, 273 British soldiers are killed. We've got 273 Levites here. It's in the year 273 BC. Rome and Egypt have political ties coming together. So we've got all of these waymarks except this one. These ones are obviously symbols still. We've got the year 2020. I'm not sure if everybody said how we got 2020, how that was achieved. Why are there 5, not 4? Any thoughts?
Okay. So, I want to use this idea. When we were studying the parables, we say it like if you want to predict some future event, you don't just come, you're standing here today and predicting. You must have a story, a threaded story. At least one of the events must be past, and at least one in the present, some in the future. Then the past and the present will help you predict the future. So what we have 5 is that we know that 2014, 2016, and 2018, 2016 and 2014 are past waymarks. Then we have 2018, a present waymark. Then we have Raffia. So God gave us this structure to understand how Raffia Penium will look like, Penium Sunday Law, and Sunday Law close of probation, second avenue.
Brother William?
I was also referring to what we have been studying in the parable, but he has already said. But another thing I'm thinking of is that if we go with that upper line, which we have drawn, we have 4 good priests, Levites, Nethinims, and 144,000. And then in your study of parables, there is a line, though I haven't understood it fully. You've been trying to show the line of the church. You've been calling the line of the church. The one we have been combining, and we have been seeing like the Sunday law is the second coming. So we introduce that line probably to define, but I'm not sure about that.
So I don't have any definitive answer on why this is, but how many groups are here in this history? 1. And here? 1. And these ones, what you'll see is the groups begin to double up in their experiences. And I think you can do, I haven't fully looked at this, but I think you can do this. I think you can create a chiasm here, where you get these different groups going through this pattern. Even though there's only 4 groups, you can create a structure that explains it through a chiastic structure. So we've spoken about all of that. So, run out of time? Oh, so the question I want to ask is the following. Oh, we spoke about the chart making business, so that's how we got there. Chart making business, 1850. It's connected to 1848, and I asked what was 1848, and we did all of that. 1848 is what they're supposed to do. Supposed to give the third angel through publications. And they were supposed to be doing these publications all through this history. And when they get to 1850, this was going to be the epitome or the swelling of the publication work, if we're okay with all of that. But instead of doing that, what do they spend their time and money doing? Making charts. Who are the 2 people? Rhodes and Case, I think it is. What's funny is we haven't read the passage, but if you went back and saw what Ellen White said about Rhodes and his chart 6 months before, less than 6 months, she was praising him. She praises his charts. It's a really good chart. I like his chart. Big chart. Never seen a chart like this before. And then later on she says, these people are fanatics. They're in the chart making business. They should be going out of business, and they should be coming behind our chart. So when Ellen White doesn't have a chart, she's okay with his chart. As soon as she gets her chart, she says, all charts, stop. No more chart making business. Everyone's got to accept my chart. So we're beginning to see the argument that there's only one chart, and the chart is a symbol of what? Time setting. A message based upon time. So there's only one message, or based upon time, the midnight cry message. That's the argument that we make. And then we're saying, when is the gift of prophecy raised up? And we haven't got there yet. We've got all of this to get through, if we do. So I want to ask the question. When we say one angel, what does that mean? I don't mean the first angel. I mean one angel. Does that mean one message? Because when we come to this angel, it's one angel. Does that mean one message? Therefore, if that was true, when we have lots of angels, would that mean there's lots of messages? which would be different to what we suggested when we looked at the chart making business. Let me ask the same question again. We already argued that an angel equals a message. Remember we had that argument because when he joins these angels, if he changed his message, he would no longer be the second angel, he'd be one of the angels. We agree with that? So my question is, I'm going to call that one angel now. One angel, is it just one message? Get rid of that. Okay, we'll keep that in here. Does that mean there's only one message? But when you get to here, and this is the midnight cry, are we saying there are multiple messages, 1, 2, 3, 4 messages, all coming together that we have to dovetail together to get this single unifying message? Is that what that symbology is teaching when it says angels in the plural, these ones here? Do we have brother X, sister Y, brother Z, brother A? Do we have 4 messages from these different people and we have to get them to all fit together? Is that what these multiple angels are symbolizing, or are they symbolizing something else? Everybody understand the question before we start tackling the answer? Why are we looking at this? Because we were led, I think, we were led into a direction that says there's only one message at the loud cry, the midnight cry. Everyone else are doing things that are disgusting. But if these multiple angels mean multiple messages, that means all this chart making business is good. We should just combine all the charts into this one beautiful chart. Or say, we'll put 4 charts when we do our presentations, and we say we'll pick a bit from here, and we'll pick a bit from here, and a bit from this one, because each one is incomplete. Which direction do we go in when we ask ourselves, what is the symbology about single angel and multiple angels? Are they teaching us multiple messages, which would all be the midnight cry, but they're separate and distinct messages? Or is it teaching us something else? Over to you, Brother William.
So, where we keep that from is the quotation where Sister White was comparing the midnight cry with the loud cry. She said that the midnight cry, there were a number of angels which came to empower the angel that arrived. But in that history, what inspiration, according to the direction of inspiration, is that the midnight cry, though with multiple angels, it was one voice. It was not like multiple voices. So if we have to die with what inspiration says, therefore we may conclude that though with multiple angels there is only one message, according to what inspiration says, even we have to die with that, at least 2.
So you go to Millerite history, you have a singular person, Samuel Snow, and his message, is it complete with integrity or incomplete? It seems to be incomplete. You don't have a second brother coming and saying, let me add to your message as a second witness or some extra information, because your message needs some bolstering or some lifting up, and I'm the person to do it with my separate distinct message coming at the same time to add to your message. So 1 + 1 = 2, and that 2 is a doubling, which is the midnight cry. And you're saying in Millerite history it doesn't work like that. It's a singular voice with a comprehensive message, and he's drawn in many lines of thought which he all got from Miller. Didn't invent anything. He draws them all and puts them into their right setting, and he does that single-handedly. There's no one aiding and abetting him. There's not, and when I mean by no one, I mean there's no other message that says, by the way, you forgot this, or you needed this, you needed my help to make or establish your message. We don't see that. So when it says multiple angels were coming in this history of the Millerites, it doesn't mean that there were separate messages being pulled together to create this midnight cry. The midnight cry was done in a different way.
And there is some understanding it.
So I'm going to comment on what William has said, then comment on this one. She says in the 238 one, paragraph 1, as writing the one you read, I want to read just.
This is the second angel chapter, 238.
I just want to read a phrase. And it says, I heard the voices of angels crying. So it's the voices of angels in plural. But what were they crying? One message. Because the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. So the voices are meant that they're giving one message. And that one message is, behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him.
So does that mean the multiple angels, one of them says, behold, the bridegroom comes soon, and the other one says, behold, the bridegroom comes and he's going to be dressed nicely, and the other one says, behold, he's coming in October. Are there different pieces, each angel saying something unique and different that added together, or are they all saying the identical thing, one message?
As I said, they're saying one message, because the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. That's the message. So it says, then I heard the voices of angels crying. So these were many voices, but what are they crying? One voice. Before the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. I think it's the same thing when you come to Revelation 18, verse 4 and 5. These multiple angels who come to give power to the mighty angel who descended early. They just say, come out of our, my people. We don't see each one of them saying his own different thing. They are united in the message that we are given.
So why does it take lots of angels to do this? What is the multiple angels symbolizing?
People who are doing the work.
My brother?
Well, for me, I think maybe the original intent of that person.
Say that? It's a bit...
The original intent, how I understand it, was giving a story about the people in the world as it was progressing. So I should be giving one, then two, as people multiply each, they bring the same message.
So, one person,
Yeah.
he's joined by many people. One person, he's joined by many people. So, I like that logic, but in this one it says an angel with human voices. It says an angels with human voices. Why couldn't it just said an angel with human voices? Why does it put angels?
Then this is trying to differentiate, like, you choose someone who brought the message, another who joined. That's how I'm viewing it.
Someone had their hand up?
No, I would reason it like this. Like, if they say, like, first angel, I would see him as the chosen messenger. No, I would see him as, sorry. I would see it as the message given to that messenger. Then when it says the second angel, that's the message still. Now when we see other angels joining him, these are people joining that messenger who has that message.
Similar to what my brother at the back said. Someone else had their hands up?
So, I don't know if this will explain.
A bit louder.
So you have Gideon and these 300. They are all blowing the trumpet saying the sword of Gideon and the sword of the Lord. 300 but one message. So I'm saying these angels are a symbol of the people who give the message.
And this one, second angel, singular message, singular angel, sorry.
That would be Gideon.
Sorry, what's his point? Because I didn't hear that. Second angel is involved.
You didn't get your point. See, the second angel would be Gideon, and the 300 would be the other angels. So, for me, can we see the dynamics of the first angel and the second angel are different? Yeah? What is driving that difference? What is creating that difference?
Angels.
So my brother says angels. I want to suggest it's not the angels that are driving the difference. It's the fact that here, how many messages do you have? One. And how many messages do you have? Two. The dynamics are different. There's a singular message that's given here, and as this singular message goes through this history, then the human voices join with this singular message here. The same thing's going to happen here. This singular message is going to go from here to here, because it's still here, and these human voices are going to join that angel. It's exactly the same dynamic as the Millerite history. It's the same. Singular angel all the way through, human voices join. Singular angel all the way through, human voices join. But now there's a secondary secondary message that comes, this one here. Come out of her, my people. Now when this message is given, come out of her, my people, who is saying that message when it first bursts onto the scene? Is it a singular voice that says that message? No, we know that because it's from Exeter, when all of those people go out and give that message. It's like stubble, like fire in the stubble. It's humans who go and do that work collectively. It's not a singular voice that then begins to gain traction. And I think you don't see the same dynamic here. And the reason there's a difference is because this is a secondary message. You've got two secondary messages. So when this message is given here, it's being portrayed by multiple angels, not because it's multiple messages, but because it's multiple human voices. Here, it's a singular human voice. Samuel Snow. Here, it's what? Still at one level a singular human voice, but other people are going to join it. They're going to go and give Babylon is fallen. But at that same time, in August, then this message here about behold the bridegroom cometh, even though it was given as a singular voice here, Babylon is fallen, now it's going to be given collectively. It's not a progression, it's immediately when that message happens, everybody takes hold of it and runs with it. So the first time you hear, behold the bridegroom cometh, externally or from the group giving it to the outside world, it's not a singular voice. It's multiple voices all at once. And I think that's what a number of people have said. The reason why it looks different, that you've only got one angel, human voices, one angel, multiple angels and multiple voices, is because this is a separate message and it's the first time that it's given publicly. I don't know if anybody's got any comment. This is an extremely important issue to deal with. It's a question that's coming up. How do we deal with the logic of what these multiple angels are representing? Because if they're representing multiple messages at the midnight cry, and we all know in the midnight cry, what should we be expecting? I was going to say multiple messages. My brother says confusion. And I think he's right. And that's what the problem is. I just wanted to say multiple messages. Because what we're saying is, one message is not complete. You need other messages that come in. So, let's address it face on. Is this the message of Sister Tess? Is this the message of Brother Theodore? Is this the message of the presidents and of the conference and the US government? So are there multiple messages that we all have to integrate into a singular unified message because they're incomplete without each other? Or is it a singular message? And if it is, which message would it be? Which messages of those, there may be others, has the hallmark of Samuel Snow's message, where he went straight back and he says, I'm going to take all the information that William Miller has given me, just like Litch had done before him, and draw all those truths together and use Miller's own arguments against him? Or is it this brand new theory, brand new argument that's never been used before? Is it that one? What characteristics should we be looking for? First question we need to ask ourselves, what do the angels represent? Multiple messages? If not, if it's a singular message, what would be the characteristics of that singular message? These are vital, important questions as each of us, as teachers, begin to teach this message to our congregations and to the wider world, which would obviously be the church world, to those priests that are coming in. We need to speak with a singular voice. And this question has been around for about a month now, and now I want us to tackle it head on. What do we as a class think is going on? Is it multiple messages? Or is it a singular message and many people are giving it based upon a singular message back here? Singular message, singular person. Now another message joins this other message. The message is still there, message on time. It's still present truth there. By the way, when we do this and we have the early rain and the latter rain, Ellen White is careful about this. When does the early rain end? In real life, the early rain ends when the latter rain begins. But in her version, it doesn't. It goes all the way through. It continues. Why would it have to continue? The reason it would have to continue is because you have the fractals of the priests, Levites, Nethinims. Each of them is going to experience this former rain in different time periods, one after the other. It's okay, they're okay. Let's come back here. Look where we are. Comment.
Okay, so I think the point that is coming up is important, and therefore we must have a criteria of determining what is the message that we're supposed to give as God's people here at the end of the world. And I believe the primary place to get that criteria from is going back to Miller's history. Because we already know that these multiple angels that we have read from 238 paragraph 1, their voice is united, behold the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. But we know this is the message put together by Snow. So we need to see how does Snow put together his message. He goes and collects information from Miller and uses that message and puts together a message that is going to be given by God's people in Exeter. After they leave Exeter, they begin to give it, all of them. Now when you come to our history, then this message should be a message that takes our past experiences, combines or boils them into something simple and presents it. And I believe that's the message to present. And I believe if you look at the three messages, the message that has those credentials is the statistic message.
Brother Paul?
I asked a question on Friday based on the Rafi and Biant that originally see the war of Islam. And the intent of my question to us that was that issue of things that come out differently. So if there is a justification of putting these like looking at Rafi and differently, and then they meet or read differently, that will be justification whereby we can join these messages together and proclaim them. But if there's no any line that can give us that evidence, then I feel that I can agree with what Brother Roger is saying.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we ask and pray for a blessing. We ask that you would guide, direct, shield and strengthen us. Help us, Lord, to develop these lines, and as we think and meditate upon them, may they penetrate our minds and into our hearts, that we would be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Help us, Lord, to understand the clear direction in which you want to take this movement, so that we might know what the Midnight Cry message is, not only for ourselves, but that message that we need to give to others. Bless us, we pray, in Jesus' name. Amen.